The Dallas Cowboys suffered even more injuries during Thursday's practice. Will Jaydon Blue play in the preseason? We'll discuss that and more next.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can follow him on Twitter at McCoolBCB. On today's show, we're going to preview the Cowboys preseason game on Saturday against the Los Angeles Rams. But let's start with their Thursday practice, which was a very physical practice. And honestly, just pulling back the curtains a little bit, you and I did not expect a overly intense practice on Thursday because this is usually when they have a light practice getting ready for the game on Saturday. Nope, they were in full pads. They were tackling to the ground, and the Cowboys suffered a couple more injuries, Landon. Like, is this what we should just expect from a more physical camp?
Yeah, I mean, it probably is. I mean, I think, and look, to their credit, doing being more unexpectedly physical is probably a good thing. I mean, the fact that we expected them to kind of, pull it back after a tough scrimmage. No, they get right back out there with pads and we're working. And yeah, I mean, we've got a couple guys who got bumped up, but hopefully it's nothing serious. And again, sacrifice is part of this. I hate to be like that, but I do think that if you're trying to create an edge, a physical edge to the football team, you can't just talk about it. You got to do stuff like this. And, there is prices to be paid. I just hope all those guys are okay for, the regular season.
Obviously. Yeah, we'll talk about the injuries that happened, but one of the criticisms that I've seen out there over the last couple of days is that it's okay to have a physical padded practice, but are they doing too much 11-on-11 stuff in practice where you have so many bodies out there that are flying around? You've got some guys that maybe shouldn't be with the first team and second team out there. Should we see that maybe, peel that back a little bit, use more one-on-ones? What are your thoughts?
I think that this is the risk versus reward that is being kind of weighed out whenever they plan these practices. Part of the issue with, having one-on-ones is that it doesn't really translate to playing NFL football unless you're, an outside corner in man coverage and with the wide receiver, or in certain situations in pass protection with the offensive tackles and the defensive ends. Outside of that, the game is simply just not played that way. So practicing that way isn't as useful as far as I'm concerned as look, let me be clear. I absolutely and probably to my detriment, I should have been quieter. I literally applauded when I heard Schottenheimer say that he wanted to do more 11-on-11 versus 7 versus 9, because I do think it's important to simulate the minutia of wide receivers stock blocking a safety and that sort of thing, and making sure they have those fits, because that's what ultimately is going to make you a more coordinated and more physical football team. You can't just say these things and then hope to be more physical. You have to sacrifice going through the part of being more physical in practice. Injuries are going to be a part of that. Bumps and bruises are going to be a part of that. It's a long season. You hope that this kind of calluses the team a little bit so that they can be like this throughout the season.
So there were two big injuries that happened during Thursday's practice, and one just kind of happens. The other one was uncalled for. So let's start with the Jaydon Blue one. It was a face mask by Sam Williams that ultimately kind of twisted Jaydon Blue's body the wrong way. He got his foot stuck in the ground. It's an ankle injury. Now, the latest update that we have is that the Cowboys don't believe it's anything serious. He was carted off the field. Remember, that means something totally different in training camp than it does during the regular season, but carted off the field, walked into the facility, and then came back out later in practice. He was wearing street clothes, but the fact that he was back on the field, I think, tells you that maybe it's not overly serious. But I have to assume now that he's probably not going to play in the preseason, or at least, the week 1 of the preseason. Is that fair?
It's hard to say, but yeah, I think that's probably a safe bet. I think you're right to kind of, and let me just point this out too. Like when they let the guys back on the sidelines during a padded practice, like that means that they're at least healthy enough that they feel like they can protect themselves if bodies fly at your legs. I mean, part of what I'll tell you, when you're on the sidelines of those practices, you're, as a reporter or anyone, you're not allowed to like take a knee at any point. They'll start yelling at you. Because the whole point is that you have to be able to stay up and be prepared, get out of the way if the play spills onto the sideline. And that goes triply so for one of their injured players. They don't want somebody getting re-injured because a player ran into him. So if they're letting you onto the sideline, I think that that's certainly a good sign for, not a long-term injury.
Yeah, no crutches, no wrap, no brace. He was walking without a noticeable limp. So my guess is maybe he got stepped on, maybe he got rolled up a little bit. Again, I don't think we'll see him in the preseason. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. We'll see him out there against the Rams. It is unfortunate because he needed those reps. And with Miles Sanders, nursing an injury, Deuce Vaughn just getting back to practice, they don't have a lot of running backs left.
Well, Deuce Vaughn is, getting back just at the right time, and that's going to help because he's probably going to end up having to take some snaps in this game, maybe when he wouldn't have otherwise. And I think that we're going to see a whole bunch of Phil Maffa. You're going to get your fill of Maffa in this game. So I think it's going to be a ton of carries for him. And look, I mean, again, he's looked good when he's given the opportunity. This may be a chance to make his case for why he should be a guy that's considered on the game day. But we'll see.
And that dad joke was brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. There you go. We'll talk about Phil Maffa more in a little bit. But the other injury the Cowboys had was Jake Ferguson. He took a nasty shot from Kenneth Murray where he wasn't really looking, and Murray kind of hit him after the ball was already on the ground, gave him whiplash a little bit. He was on the ground for a long time, got up, put his helmet back on, and then he was back down on the ground a little bit later. So we haven't heard anything outside of the Cowboys don't believe it's anything serious, but these are the type of injuries that seem avoidable, right? And there's been a couple of these where guys are going a little bit after the whistle. I know you want a physical camp, but you've got to be smart about it as well.
Yeah. Part of having a physical camp is having to pull it back, right? Like, and again, being physical means, going over the line and having the coach pull you back as opposed to the coach pushing you up to the line to physicalness. So yeah, this kind of thing is going to happen. I don't like it. No one likes it, but I think it's the inevitable conclusion of a bunch of physical players playing a physical sport. And sometimes things spill out later than they should. We all applaud Brock Hoffman. We all applaud Sam Williams when they are enforcers on the field.
Yeah.
This is kind of part of what happens when that just goes too far.
And Jake Ferguson's not going to play on Saturday. He wasn't going to play even if he was fully healthy. No. But one of the things that's very interesting here, Landon, is they just don't have a lot of tight end depth that's healthy right now because you have Ferguson, who's not playing, Brevin Spanford, who's out with a high ankle injury. You've got Luke Schoonmaker, and then even someone like Princeton Fant, he's been dealing with an injury. He's missed the last couple of days of practice. So I would expect Luke Schoonmaker to play at least the full first half, and honestly, he probably needs it.
Who's gonna play a lot of snaps is Hunter Lipke. He's got to play running back. He's got to play tight end. He's and he's the only fullback. So he's gonna get his sweats going for sure.
All right, let's talk about some more players that we are excited to watch in the preseason. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're trying to grow your savings or you're planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, all of your investments, and your spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, And that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, Landon and I are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first timer or a veteran making your millionth league. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. And to kick it off, they've just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. And with the season right around the corner, now is the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. And if you're into the classics, you can still play in a head-to-head private league or join a public league. So stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Let's talk about this Cowboys-Rams preseason game. Well, we don't know for sure. I have a feeling the Cowboys starters probably aren't going to play. By starters, I mean like CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, probably not even someone like George Pickens. But outside of those guys, who are you excited to watch?
Well, I'm interested to see if we get the offensive line or not. Obviously there's been some injuries and you wonder, maybe they have to play at least some of these guys, certainly simply because they are going to have to field a team, I think we'll probably see some Tyler Booker. I think we'll probably see some CeeDee Lamb, some Cooper Beebe, some. I think I wouldn't be shocked if we saw maybe a series from Tyler Smith and Steele, and I think we're going to see a lot of Nate Thomas. Because
good
part of what we need to talk about is Nate. Part of getting Nate Thomas ready for an NFL game is getting used to the endurance of playing an entire game, right? Like, I mean, one of the things that I noticed during that Rams practice is that the guys were exhausted at the end of that practice in a way that they weren't after these other practices, because you're just going at a different level, and so you're just burning it at both ends. So for a guy that hasn't played a full NFL game in a long time, I think Nate is probably going to get, I would guess, at least a quarter of football, maybe a half, right?
Well, let me ask you this. If it's not Nate Thomas at left tackle, who is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's Awesome Richards, or it's going to be
Christian.
Yeah, Christian, or I'm assuming La'el Collins is probably going to have to play in this.
Well, I think he's probably going to play right tackle.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is you can add him into the mix and probably maybe kick someone like Cornelius over if you needed to, or I mean, there's just going to have to throw bodies at it, because I think Thomas is probably just going to have to play a lot, which is good, and he needs to.
I think it would be a mistake for the Cowboys to only play Nate Thomas a quarter, thinking, oh, we can't have him get injured because, then or whatever, right? Like, because there's a chance that Tyler Guyton's ready for week 1, but you just need Nate Thomas to get these snaps. Like, this is the most important thing for Nate Thomas, because let's say he plays week 1 and then he's back on the bench. We might not see him, knock on wood. Actually, that'd be a great thing. We might not see him the rest of the year in an NFL game, right? So I think it'd be great if he's playing the entire first half, go into halftime, come back and play some in the third quarter, just to get as many reps on tape as possible so you could fix them and see what it looks like in week 2 of the preseason. He's probably the one guy that I'm circled that when the ball is snapped, that's the guy I'm going to be watching.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I agree. I think he should play a lot. And just because he needs the work. And when I said a quarter, I'm hoping that it's at minimum a quarter, because again, like a guy who hasn't played a full football game in over 2 years, and his first game is going to be against the defending champs. So he needs to kind of be as game ready as possible. And part of that is getting a lot of work and understanding the amount of endurance it takes to get through an entire football game. Remember, offensive linemen don't get a break other than when the defense on the ball. So they're not like subbing in and out or rotating at all, or can, just step out for a snap, unless you're, I guess, a quarterback in Anthony Richardson. But otherwise, it's
just shots at our guys at the Locked On Colts. Poor Colts fans. They're already struggling enough.
Where you're pointing at them over there? Is that?
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, I think I think it's important that he gets a lot of snaps so that he can get ready for the NFL, and more so than maybe the rest of these guys.
All right, let's talk about some other players we're excited to watch. And listen, I'm going to start with Joe Milton.
Yeah.
He's probably going to play at least a half, probably more than that, I would bet. I mean, they don't really need to see more of Will Grier. Will Grier is kind of who he is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Milton's going to play a lot, and I have no doubts that Joe Milton's going to put up big stats. He's going to have some highlight runs. He's going to throw the ball 60 yards down the field, whether it's completed or not. We'll see. But I just want to see, like, hey, is he getting to his second and third read? Is he speeding things up in the pocket? And probably more than anything, like, can you make the routine passes routinely, like the little dump offs to the running back? I know Deuce Vaughn is small, but can you accurately throw him the ball? Can you put the ball in, keep the offense ahead of the chains? This is a really big opportunity for Joe Milton, not only to try to win the backup quarterback job, but also, like, if he has a really strong preseason, maybe we do start to think about him as the potential guy after Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I mean, I think my big thing with Joe is that he just has to see it better and faster, right? Like, I mean, I feel like if he's getting rid of the ball quickly from the pocket, I think there's just time. Then I think that's a good thing, right? Even if it's like quickly and it's just boom, one read, boom, or one read, and then he's running. Like what we can't abide by is him kind of hanging and just standing in the pocket too long, waiting for plays to develop that aren't going to develop, and try to throw and like locking on to one downfield receiver just trying to throw the ball down the field. Because look, if he sees it, I got no problem. He's got good accuracy. He's got one of the best arms I think I've ever seen. Like the ball just explodes off his hand in a way that it really is hard to describe it. And the ball has like perfect spiral on it. So when he throws it, like absolutely, you see it right there. But the problem is that it's everything after the snap until he throws the ball. That is where you need to be paying attention with Joe Milton. How long is it taking? How many progressions is he getting to? Is he locking on? And ultimately it's going to be like, is he taking sacks? Because that's my big real life worry with him, is that his processor is going to cause him to take a bunch of sacks in the NFL.
Who else are you watching? Let's go non-rookies in this preseason game.
Oh, non-rookies. Okay, so I would say just checking in on some of the defensive line, especially because these are the guys that we, now that we're getting full live reps, like it's better to kind of evaluate linebackers and defensive line on that side of the ball. So I want to see how Marshawn Nealon specifically, like guys that are like the more physical run stopping, defensive ends. I want to see how they're doing. I want to see. I don't know if Mazi's playing, but how Mazi's
going to play. I think Stephen Jones said Mazi's going to play. Yep.
Perfect. So I definitely looking forward to kind of see where he's at Winfrey. We've seen him kind of drumbeat out here. I want to see more of that, more of Elam, just because he's another guy. And obviously all the linebackers, really. We haven't seen almost anything of Kenneth Murray other than him hurting our tight end. I'd like to see him kind of go out here and try to tackle some of the other guys for a little bit. But all the linebackers, because it's a run and hit situation, it's a live tackling situation, and this is their actual opportunity to kind of show us something.
Yeah, those are all really good names. I'm still going to be looking at the down roster receivers. Like I want to see Ryan Flournoy, who had a couple of really nice catches during Thursday's practice. What does he look like? I'm going to assume like Jonathan Mingo is probably going to start the game on the outside. I bet it'll be Tolbert and Mingo. Just kind of see where he's at in his development, where the Cowboys are moving him, and whether any of these other receivers, Trayshawn Holden, what can they do? But those are kind of the guys that I'm looking to see. I have a feeling this thing is going to get pretty ugly in the second half, where there's a lot of guys out there that probably shouldn't be out there. So those first couple drives, I think, keep an eye on the first team offense and the first team defense.
Last thing before we go, Turpin, do you think he plays?
I think he'll start the game and play a series or two. Yes.
That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see him, but there's lots of young guys that are going to get plenty of opportunity underneath him. So
all right, let's talk about we'll see. Let's talk about some rookies that we are excited to see in their first NFL action. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're out sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one is a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the course or even off it, you need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I was out on the course today, got behind a couple of really slow groups. I was dragging a little bit, took my 5 Hour Energy, finished up the last 3 holes really, really strong. And golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. And the great ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. So if you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use our promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th and on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. And this code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost that you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Go make your second listen. The Locked On Bets show, betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily MLB locks and can't miss football futures. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Lane, let's talk about some rookies that we're excited to see. Let's start at the top. I'm going to assume Tyler Booker's going to at least play a couple series. I've got to get him ready for week 1. And I'm really anxious to see what he looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Booker specifically, obviously, just because he's your first round pick. Obviously, we're going to see some of Easy out there. I think just for a couple snaps, probably maybe even fewer than we would see a Booker. But maybe they let him play a little bit. I don't know. They just have a lot more depth there, so he may not get as many opportunities. They may just want to not expose him. I think the guys that are really interesting in these games are like we talked about, the defensive line, offensive line, running back, linebacker class of folks, right? So, if Blue is going to play, which it doesn't obviously look very good, depending based on what we saw today, that's obviously line one for this whole game. I would say, we want to see him in live reps, see how he is running through arm tackles, because we feel like he's going to have a role in the regular season. Now, I do think Phil Maffa really does interest you, because you want to see what he looks like out here, and you're really getting actual tackle to the ground opportunity. So Maffa is going to be a guy that we're definitely going to want to see. I definitely want to see Shamar James. I mean, I feel like, again, another guy who we've seen take reps with the ones at points. We've seen him do some decent things, but now that it's real live tackling to the ground, this is what linebackers are made for. So does he go out there and kind of take advantage of that opportunity? We'll find out. So lots of other guys too that mentioned. Who are some of the guys you're looking forward to seeing?
Well, the Rams don't play anybody. Anybody that's going to play for them this season is probably not going to be out in the field on Saturday. Like, they're notorious for not caring about the preseason. So I feel really bad for these down roster offensive tackles that are going to try to block Donovan Ezeraku coming off the edge. That sounds like it's going to be miserable. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams just try to run the ball a lot to try to get this game over as fast as possible. But I got one other one I want to mention. Zion Childress, a defensive back from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Our guy, Joseph Hoyt, just wrote an article about how he's been earning more and more opportunities. And actually on during Thursday's practice, he was working in the slot with a first-team defense. Now, I think that's the Cowboys just trying to give him opportunities. But this is somebody that we highlighted back in April who can do a little bit of everything. And actually his game lines up well to be like this box slot guy that can blitz, that can play the run. He's probably going to play a lot. I can't wait to see him play.
Yeah, I mean, he was the guy that we identified early on as someone that we thought could come in here and make some noise in the slot spot. But I think it's funny because they have kind of like a rotation of multiple guys, so it does feel like they're going to piecemeal that position together with a couple different guys potentially. What would be interesting is if Childress is part of that mix, right? Because it feels like they already have two kind of more veteran guys. Maybe Childress is the guy that you want to eventually fully take over the job, and this is how you kind of slowly feed him snaps to kind of get used to the NFL.
One more name that I wanted to mention. Stephen Jones sat down with Nick Eatman from DallasCowboys.com on Thursday, and they were just asking him about some players that he's excited to see in the preseason. And one of the first names out of his mouth was Jay Tobia. And the reason why is because it's really hard to evaluate defensive tackles until you actually get to the preseason and you see the on-field. It's live and there's guys flying all over the place. So how does he look in this environment? I cannot wait to go watch the All-22 and see what that looks like.
Yeah, think about like Osa, right? Like Osa, it's easy for you to kind of see him knife through the B gap and be at Dak's face because that's the skill set that obviously is easy to see in training camp. But what's harder to see, especially in training camp where it's not live, is how well is a big 330-pound man taking on a double team? Like, is he able to get to work his knee down and slow the things down, or is it like, oh, we're kind of just all holding things up here? So yeah, I do think that him, Akeem Basode, another guy that just like we've seen a little bit of, but now let's see him play like over the course of a game and how does he get an opportunity to shine a little bit.
It's hard to believe, but Cowboys preseason football is back. It's always one of my favorite times of the year. Like I get so fired up for these preseason games, and then you get halfway through it and it feels like a drag. But the fact that we're back and we actually get to talk about actual football on the field, it's the best time of year. I can't wait.
No, for guys like us, I mean, I'm going to watch the whole game and be excited about it, because I want to see how these guys play. So you get invested, and especially for your own team, like. This is why we do this stuff, because it's fun, and we spend so much time talking about these guys as draft picks, and then all the way through the process to see them wear the star and play out in the field is just really cool. It's a real treat.
All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every single day. Go check out the channel on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. He is Landon McCool. I am Marcus Mosher. Enjoy the game on Saturday. We'll see you right back here on Sunday.